The first example of Baroque music that I'm going to be showing is Invention Number 13 by J.S. Bach. And it has examples of polyphonic texture. And polyphonic texture basically means that the melody switches back and forth between the right hand and the left hand, so not one dominates over the other. The first example that I'm going to use for the classical music period is Sonata Pathétique by Beethoven. And it is a really good example of the sonata form that was formed during the classical music period. And sonatas are made up of 3 different parts or movements. And the first movement usually is actually split into 3 different parts. The first one being exposition, second one development, and then the third recapitulation. And then the second movement is usually a slower one, and it's in a different key, but usually related to the first. And then the third movement is in the same key, and it's usually a rondo, and that's how they end the sonata. So now I'm going to play a little bit from the first movement of Sonata Pathétique, and notice how I use homophonic texture, which means that the melody is really brought out in the right hand, while the left hand just complements the melody. And this is the second movement of Sonata Pathétique, and it's the slower movement. Example for the classical music period is Sonata by Mozart, and it has an example of Alberti bass, which was developed during this period, and it's a repeated pattern that is played in the left hand. So it'd be like over and over and over again throughout the song. The next example of romantic music that I'm going to be doing is Raindrop Prelude by Frédéric Chopin. And this song is a really good example of emotion that's used in romantic music, and also that the melody is really, really prominent, and you can hear it really well. The example that I'm going to use for contemporary music is Clair de Lune by Debussy, and it uses chordal harmony, which is usually in harmonies you use a third, which would be, but instead in contemporary music a lot of times they use a fourth, which would just be, which it sounds a little bit off, but it adds something different and special. And then the other thing that it uses is irregular meters, so instead of in 4/4, which is what most songs are, or in 3/4, which is just 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Claire de Lune is in 9/8, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And that's an irregular meter because it's not used that often. And also it goes back to polyphonic texture, which was used in Baroque music. So